Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so that you can follow along. In accordance with our group conscience from October of 2023, we will also be posting our podcast on YouTube, and this podcast is audio only. We feel it is an effective way to carry our message to alcoholics or to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. And tonight we are starting a new chapter. We are starting into action, so there is no recap. But we will have our blue page, and that will be screen shared, and that will explain some history on the chapter. And then our study will begin on page 72 and will end on page 73. Do we have any announcements?
Hi family, my name's Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic. And welcome to Lppbbsg! We are glad that you are here. And tonight's meeting is obviously hybrid rather than just strictly Zoom. If you happen to be able to get to us, we are going to be here doing what we do for several more days, right through the holiday. The holiday's a big day, but hey, if you want to travel a few hundred miles, you're more than welcome to come join us. We'll be happy to have you. Our group conscience is going to be sometime in July. I want to say
Next Sunday, the 8th.
Next Sunday, the 8th. See, I was correct on that. Sometime in July, on Monday night. Now, here's what I have to say. Home group members, please keep in mind that updates about minutes and everything from last group conscience will be sent out email. GSR report will be sent out email, and that way if you have anything you need to bring to the table at group conscience, please feel free to do that. The other thing is, folks, if you like what you find in this group and you'd like it to be your home group, just let Tricia or I know, and we'd be happy to add you to this, and we will make you a home group member, and you have a voice in what this group does. We love what we do, and we're grateful you're all here. Lisa, did you have a question, or are you raising your hand to read?
No, I had a question. Chris, you said read to people who do not understand alcoholic. That's 74.
Okay, then I looked at the script wrong. Thank you. We'll be reading to page 74, not to page 73.
Trish, undo the waiting room and turn off the ding dong.
I did turn off the ding dong.
Ding dong.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Oh,
Right.
okay.
Enable the waiting room. There we go.
Okay, there you go. So, here again, folks, feel free to come join us if you like. Pinky, we'll see you and your family tomorrow. So, okay. All right, masses, keep it down, keep it down. Go ahead. Oh, and it's my turn.
Yep.
And good evening, family. My name's Jamie, and I'm still a very overtired alcoholic. Welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of monk meditation. The monks are quite noisy, in case you haven't noticed. And followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm an alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing, as to not distract yourself or others. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And just a friendly reminder that absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you that in the order that hands are raised.
And from the foreword to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God and let the craziness of the day drift away, and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And before you bring the monks in, Trish, can I ask everybody who's in this room that happens to have their phone with them to put it on silent, please? Trish, picture, fog light prayer.
Yep.
Go right there.
I will. Sure.
And let's get focused by having please join me in our family's fog light prayer. God, let your love light shine through us like a fog light, so those that are sick and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report.
I am Gypsy Cat, and I am an alcoholic. I have asked Terry to please read the recovered statement.
Keep going.
We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic.
Hi, I'm Terry Pickle Chips. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body, page 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you, Terry.
Terry.
Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a big book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapsed, and the remainder of those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Can we please have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Welcome, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Okay. And then the
Hello.
recovery.
Estelle.
Hi, Estelle. Welcome. Good to see you.
Hi, Estelle.
Oh, there's my video.
Okay.
I might turn it off for a
Anybody
minute. Just
Anybody
because-
else?
That's fine. Hi, Jessica. Welcome.
Hi, Jessica.
Okay. Is that it? And then the recovered alcoholics, please. These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week? If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that could be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo or PayPal, posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website, posted in chat. Thank you. See you next week.
And Jessica put in chat 15 months on the 1st.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
From chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 8. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 9. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. And come in, Piggy. Alyssa. There she is.
Thank you, Miss Trish. Hi, my name's Alyssa. I'm a recovered alcoholic. So tradition 8, tradition 9, because last week Miss Terry did tradition 8 for me. Thank you very much, Miss Terry, for filling in. So tradition 9, I will read the short and the long forms. So I'm on page 562, and I will be on page 564 in our big book. So 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. That is the short form. The long form, each AA group needs the least possible organization. Rotating leadership is the best. The small group may elect its secretary. The large group its rotating committee. And the groups of a large metropolitan area their central or intergroup committee, which often employs a full-time secretary. The trustees of the General Service Board are, in effect, our AA's General Service Committee. They are the custodians of our AA tradition and the receivers of voluntary aid contributions by which we maintain our AA General Service Office at New York. They are authorized by the groups to handle our overall public relations, and they guarantee the integrity of our principal newspaper, the AA Grapevine. All such representatives are to be guided in the spirit of service, for true leaders in AA are but trusted and experienced servants of the whole. They derive no real authority from their titles. They do not govern. Universal respect is the key to their usefulness. So that's the long explanation of Tradition 9. And, we have Jamie as our GSR, so our general service rep for our group. So he is the one that gets to take back our group ideas and be the voice of our group so that it can go up, because each group is autonomous, which is another tradition, but we're part of the greater whole. So following the service structure, but we don't employ. We're trusted servants. We do not govern. We stick to the tradition, to the principles, and there is no one person that governs. There's that spirit of rotation. And we stick to the message. These people, the servants, come in and they take over the roles that are already designated. So if you were to compare that to, like business management, if I'm a representative, I'm trying to implement new and exciting ideas. So that's completely different. Here, we're the person continuing the same message in that position. So it's different in that aspect in those positions, and we're just trusted servants. We're just stepping into a position. We do take our experience. We can take our experience, strength, and hope, but we're not there to change the position. That's what I'm trying to get to. So, and that's what keeps the message going. Is we're not changing the message. We rotate leadership. The message stays the same because the message is what has allowed millions to recover from STD, from a state of mind and body. And those traditions are what have kept us from killing each other. So, thanks for letting me be your traditionalist for the last 2 weeks. And thank you, Miss Perry, for filling in on my
You're welcome. Good job.
Thank you so much, Pinky. Everybody give her a big hand, please. She's done a great job being our traditionalist for the last 3 weeks. And next week, we will have Pickle Chips herself coming in and being our traditionalist for 10, 11, and 12. So thank you so much for your service. And now it is time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of things said in meetings that can't be reconciled with what the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous has to say. Here's one of those things that we hear in meetings. You need to stay in those feelings and really feel them. And Larry is going to come in and tell us what it has to say on page 84 in the second paragraph. Come on in, Scuba Pickle.
When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them.
Boy, howdy. Thank you, Larry.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe, Charlie, and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we do not have a recap because we're starting a new chapter. But we will have a blue page which will be screen shared, and that will be read by Shayla, and that will give us a little bit of history on the chapter. And then our study will begin on page 72 and will end on page 74 where it says people who do not understand alcoholics, and that will be read by Lisa. Okay, you here.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where Lisa starts with the study portion tonight. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we will open up for comment, questions, observations based on what we just read. If you've had a spiritual experience with this information, please share that experience, strength, and hope. Please keep your share on topic in under 5 minutes, because tonight, the way we're going to let you know is, you ready, Pickles? Everybody's going to go like this in the screen to let you know.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group. Who's doing it?
I'll do it. Unless you want to.
No, you go right ahead.
Thank you.
Wow.
I don't mind doing this part anymore.
You know where it started, all right here.
So how we arrived at this point. This meeting started right here in this room as an in-person meeting in January of 2020. And then COVID hit, and just like the rest of the world, the meeting shut down temporarily, reopened as a Zoom meeting, transferred into a hybrid meeting, and then went back to being a Zoom meeting. And we've been 100% Zoom ever since. And we start our study on the title page where we see our first promise, how thousands of alcoholics or how hundreds of alcoholics have recovered from alcoholism. And we use this question and answer format through the preface, the forwards, the doctor's opinion, every page, every line, every sentence, all the way up to page 164. And then we also study in the same way Dr. Bob's Nightmare, the traditions, and then we spend 4 weeks on Appendix 2, the Spiritual Awakening, 3 times as a footnote within the study, and then on week 94, the final week of our study, we do that as a standalone study because, that's a really important part of what we do here is the spiritual experience. And then when we're done, we go all the way back to the title page and we start all over again. So we're in our 4th year as a group. We're in the middle of our 3rd season, the 3rd time going through the book, and we are on week number 45 out of 94. So we're about halfway through. And you know, every time we go through the book in this format, I learn new things and I see new things that I hadn't seen or understood before. So, you know, that's why we keep coming back, and that's why we keep reading over and over and over, because there's always new stuff to see.
Before we start the blue page, thank you, Trish. Before we start the blue page tonight, we'll need 5 or 6 virtual hands raised, or Pepple's in the room. We got the Pepple paper, the people Pepples.
Stop it.
Toad fire.
Really? So whoever wants to be a question answer, we'd be happy to have you do that. And would just like to remind you that the first hour and a half of this meeting is recorded in audio only, so that we can put it to our website and podcast and to our YouTube channel. And tonight I am going to yield my chair to the Texas Pickle, Shay, and she is going to come in and read the blue page and do comments tonight. So here, let's switch seats there, young lady.
So I will go ahead and share the blue page as we're playing musical chairs here. And like I said in the beginning, you don't have the blue page. That's why we screen share it, so you can see what it is we're reading. And this is some background on the chapter, a little bit of historical background, and lets us know where are we in the book, what are we doing, and what is to come. So come on in, Texas Pickle.
Hello, I'm Texas Pickle, and I'm an alcoholic. This is from page 72 through 88. Now that we have taken steps 3 and 4 and have decided to put the program of Alcoholics Anonymous to test, we are ready to go into action. That just happens to be the title of Chapter 6, Into Action. In this chapter, we are given directions, the prayers, and the promises for steps 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. This chapter contains 17 pages, and we get the directions for 7 steps from this chapter. What seems to be so amazing about this program is its simplicity. We are told how to make our decision to begin recovery on page 63. From page 64 through page 83, we are told what we must do to be assured of a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. Once we have taken the action outlined in these pages, we are told we are now recovered alcoholics. To maintain that miracle and to grow spiritually, we are told how we can take care of the moment by applying step 10 and how to gain the power and knowledge of His will for us by practicing step 11. That precious information is contained in just 5 pages, which are pages 84 through 88. Having followed the clear-cut directions presented in chapter 5 and 6 on these 24 pages of our basic text, we are promised that we will have a spiritual awakening and thereby have a solution for all of our problems. Not just the problem of alcoholism, but all of our problems rooted in spiritual malady. The only way to see if that will prove true for us, as it did for the authors of this book, is to do what they report they did. With step 4, we have taken only the first action step. Now it is time for action and more action. We recover by the steps we take, not the meetings we make.
Thank you. So we will go ahead and have Lisa come on in and read our study for this evening.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa and I'm an alcoholic. Chapter 6, Into Action. Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. We have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. Now these are about to be cast out. These require actions. This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the 5th step, in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. Trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned of humility, fearlessness, and honesty, in the sense we find it necessary, until they told someone else all their life story. More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. This is one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself. He hopes they will never see the light of day. He is under constant fear and tension. That makes for more drinking. Psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance for recovery. We must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world. Rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom we take this intimate, confidential step. Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must, and of course will want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty it is to receive it. Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion. We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics.
Thank you, Lisa. And now we're going to go back to the top. And we're going to start with our questions and our batting order. And actually, before we do that, for those of you who are new, we have a study that we use, as we said in the opening, written by Joe and Charlie and by Krusty Cliff. And what they did in this study is they looked at each sentence in the big book, reworded it as a question, so that we will read the questions to you, and then the answer to the questions will be what Lisa just read. Each question has one sentence as an answer, unless otherwise specified that it's 2 or 3 sentences once in a while. So our batting order tonight for our answer readers are Linda, Kenny, Art, Alyssa, Kat, and William. And for our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones. And we will go ahead and get started with that. So Linda, our first question is coming to you at the beginning of the chapter. Having completed our fourth step, what is the question? And go ahead and unmute, please, Linda and all of our readers.
Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it?
Thank you. And Kenny, a three-part question. What have we been trying to do? And what else? And to discover what?
We have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path.
Thank you. And Art, you get a three-part question also. What have we admitted? What have we ascertained? And we have put our finger on what?
We have admitted certain defects. We have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory.
Thank you. And Alyssa, what is about to happen to these defects of character? And I think Alyssa stepped away, so Kat, can you answer that one for me, please?
Now these are about to be cast out.
Thank you. And William, a three-part question. What is required? When completed, we will have admitted to whom? And what will we have admitted?
Was action on our part, which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to God, ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our defects.
Thank you. And Linda, coming back to you, where are we at this point?
This brings us to the fifth step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter.
Thank you so much. And Kenny, what is difficult about step 5?
This is difficult, especially discussing our defect with another person.
It sure was. And Art, do some of us feel that step 4 was enough truth?
We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves.
Thank you. And Alyssa, what do we find in actual practice? 2 sentences, please.
There is doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient.
Thank you. And Kat, do many of us believe that we must do more?
Sorry.
Many of us thought.
Towards the bottom?
Um,
I'm sorry.
So,
Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. Sorry.
Thank you. And William, will some good reasons help us be more willing to take this step?
We will be more recalled to discuss ourselves, another person, when we see good reason why we should do so.
Thank you. And Linda, coming back around to you, what is the very best reason for doing so?
The best reason first, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking.
Thank you. And Kenny, do many try to keep a secret or two?
Time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives.
Thank you. And Art, do they try to find an easier, softer way?
Trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods.
Thank you. And Alyssa, what almost invariably happens to them?
Almost invariably, they got drunk.
Thank you. And Kat, since they took step 4, what did they wonder when they found themselves drunk?
Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell.
Thank you. And William, what do we think the reason is?
We think the reason is that they never completed their their house cleaning.
Thank you. And Linda, even though they made an attempt at step 4, what had they done?
They took inventory all right, but they hung on to some of the most worst items in stock.
Thanks so much. And Kenny, what thoughts did they hang on to?
They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves.
Thank you. And Art, a 2-part question. What had they not learned and what did they need to do?
But they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story.
Thanks so much. And Alyssa, how many lives do alcoholics live?
More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life.
Thank you. And Kat, what are we good at?
He is very much the actor.
Oh, we sure are. And William, do we put on a good front for the people in our lives? 2 sentences, please.
To the outer world, he present his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see.
Thank you. And Linda, coming back around to you again, a 2-part question. If we are good at it, what do we enjoy? And do we deserve it?
He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it.
Thank you. And Kenny, what makes things worse?
The inconsistencies have made worse. It's made worse by the things he does on his sprees.
Thank you. And when he comes out of a blackout, what happens, Art?
Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers.
Thank you. And Alyssa, what are these memories?
These memories are a nightmare.
Yes, they are. And Kat, what really scares him?
He trembles to think someone might have observed him.
Thank you. William, what does he do with these memories?
As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself.
Sure does. And Linda, what is his hope?
He hopes they will never see the light of day.
Absolutely. And Kenny, a 2-part question. What does this do to him constantly? And this leads to what?
He is under constant fear and tension that makes for more drinking.
Thank you. And Art, do psychologists believe we are liars?
Psychologists are inclined to agree with us.
Thank you. And Alyssa, do we pay them well? We pay them well to tell them half-truths and ignore their advice? 3 sentences for you, please.
We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice.
Thank you.
Would this maybe qualify as another form of insanity?
Thank you, Shayla. And Shayla will be coming in with a couple of comments tonight. And Kat, who were we willing to be honest with?
Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men, we were honest with no one else.
That's for sure. And William, is this one of the reasons members of the medical profession have such a low opinion of us?
Small wonder the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholism and their chances for recovery.
Could another reason be that we are not too good about paying our bills?
That's for sure. And Linda, a 2-part question. What must we do, and why must we be entirely honest with someone?
We must be entirely honest with someone if we expect to live long or happily in this world.
Thank you. And Kenny, should we be careful about who we take step 5 with?
Rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or the person with whom to take this intimate and confidential step.
Thank you. And Art, if our religious convictions require a confession, should we adhere to that?
Those of us belonging to a religious denomination which requires confession must then, of course, will want to go to the properly appointed authority whose duty it is to receive it.
Thank you. And Alyssa, if we have no religious connections, is it all right to go to a member of the clergy?
Though we have no religious connection, we may still do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion.
Thank you. And Kat, do we sometimes find those who come to understand what we are trying to do?
We often find such a person quick to see and understand our problem.
Thank you. And William, our last question. On the other hand, do we sometimes find folks who want to change our program?
Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand our performance.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The bottom of page 74 to the top of page 75 gives us the directions of how to choose who is to hear our fifth step. Its suggestion is that we choose someone that will keep our confidentiality. This could be a priest, minister, a rabbi, or a counselor, people who are bound for confidentiality by law. However, experience has taught us of the value of taking this step with another alcoholic. Sponsorship. We believe that the advantage to this is that the experience of another alcoholic knows where to direct us next through the process of recovery. We recommend that you prayerfully ask God to bring the right person into our lives to help us through this process.
Thank you, Shayla. And we're now going to open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. As a friendly reminder as we share, the absence of profanity offends no one. And we will now open for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. And also, if you have spiritual experiences with this information, you are, of course, free to share as well. So I've got Linda and Kenny, whose hands are still up from reading, maybe. Alyssa, you just put your hand back up. Do you want to come on in?
I will. Thank you. My name's Alyssa. I'm a recovered alcoholic. So the experience that I have with this part of the book, I could share many things, but I'll share the most recent, which happened today. When I woke up this morning, I was not, and my medical opportunities were right there. And I had to, excuse me, let me change that. I got to, after realizing the reality of what I was working with, is I got to go into prayer and meditation. And then I was able to be the recipient of somebody's fifth step. So even though it wasn't mine, we talked about the direction that the book gives, and they were, I asked if, we went over what it suggests, and then I was able to I was able to sit and listen to someone else's fifth step. And as I was doing that, I was listening to see where this person, to see where the opportunity for the tools could go, and where they had. So at the end, if they come back and ask me, do you have any feedback, then I can say, this or that. And there's so much of being able to listen to that today that is in this reading. The best reason first is that if we skip this vital step, I'm not going to overcome drinking. I have to get it all out. Out with the old, in with the new. We're not too in with the new yet, so I'm going to stay within these pages. how good this part makes me feel. Because I live in the 10th step, so there's nothing that I'm going to take in today to tomorrow that I can't solve today. Like, I don't like that feeling, so I know what it feels like to get past, like, get it all out. I also know what it feels like if I hold on to something. These things that it tells me I'm going to do, I've experienced those when I held on to something. But listening to it and watching somebody else experience this part of the reading, it's just that reinforcement that my mind needs. Like, I know it's working for me, but to be able to be in the fellowship and to watch other people grow up in the fellowship and catch on to the process so that they can live happy, joyous, and free, it helps me. It motivates me too. That's the part I'm gonna get to. It motivates me. Like, I wasn't, I was outside of myself, right? I wasn't focusing on self when I was listening. And I caught myself, like, I'm moving around now. I was finishing up the packing, you know, and that whole situation is a collaboration of hearing somebody else, you know, let it all out, and the relief and just their the presence, right? You can feel good presence, and it's contagious. You know, a joy shared is doubled, a burden shared is halved, and then it also it reinstilled in me that importance too, because I thrive off of that feeling, right? And I get to have that feeling when I pick up my tools, and that tool is prayer. That tool is my communication with God. And it's what's blocking me so I can get to you. And I don't want to hold on to anything that blocks me off from the sunlight of His Spirit. Because when I do, that's when I'm in misery. You know, pain is a fact of life. Misery is completely optional. I experience that on a daily basis, you know. And it's because of this way of life that I don't have to live in pain. You know, or I don't have to live in the misery. Pain's still there, but I'm not focused on it because I've been given a way to, you know, focus on the solution. And but I can't do that if I don't take the suggestions as they're outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so this last line on page 73, I'm going to finish with this. I must, there's those musts, be entirely honest with someone if I would expect to live long and happily in this world. That's my experience. I'm living. Well, I don't know about long, because I don't know, you know, God's got my timer on, but I'm happy. You know, I'm right here where my feet are. I'm not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not stressing over things I can't change yesterday, or even this morning. I'm right here, and I'm living happy and free in this world. So, thanks for letting me share. Thank you all for being a part of my sobriety. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I love you dearly. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Alyssa. So glad you're here with us tonight. Hi, Linda. Come on in.
Hi, my name is Linda. I'm an alcoholic. This fifth step, you know, into action, it's perfect what they said, into action, because that really describes that fifth step. You know, and the exact nature of our wrongs. You know, one person told me, they said it's about what you're doing and why you keep doing it. And what I like in here, I hear a lot in this, what we've read, these paragraphs. You know, it's like, am I still engaging in these defects? You know, am I still having fun with them? Is that the reason why? Is that the exact nature why I haven't let them go? You know, self-awareness. How are my defects affecting others? Never mind the pleasure it may give me. How is it affecting other people? You know, do I have a mean tongue? Do I take pleasure in insulting people and hurting their feelings? You know, do I ever stop? Do I ever stop to think or to look at that person as an individual and a human being? It's very, very, very self-centered of me. I'm just going to put this on me. If I'm still engaging in these glaring character defects, they'll take me back out. They'll make me drink. But beforehand, before that happens, how much damage have I done? How many people have I hurt? If I'm a person and I'm working on a team, how is this affecting the team? How much, non-productiveness, how much time and money am I wasting with this company? But then I'm arrogant, and it's like, you better get my paycheck and it better be right, but I'm still going to be lacking, and I'm going to have, not even the word slacking off, just non-productiveness, not being cohesive, not being cooperative, not wanting to work with other people, not wanting to see what their ideas is and listening, being a tyrant. If I'm supervising people, I remember when I had to supervise people, I really had to use my steps. I really had to be mindful about how I spoke to other people, because I was communicating with individuals, giving them instructions on specific tasks to do, and they were my age and older. So I really had to use my program. I really had to use non-accusatory words, talking down to them, belittling them, just asking a question, just simply asking them a question. This is what I'd like to do. Are you able to do it? Not are you capable of doing it, because that is an insult. Are you able to do it at this time? They may have other tasks that they're doing. So I have to be considerate of their time. I live in a world among other people. I don't live in a world among myself. So I need to understand how I should treat people, how I should communicate with them, and how my defects of character, like what the young lady was saying before me, how it's going to block me from the sunlight of the spirit, how it's going to keep me miserable, how it's going to make me drink again. How can I say I'm recovering if, I took a 4th step and a 5th step, but then I'm still holding on to it? Then I didn't take it. I didn't go to the nitty gritty. I didn't go to the deep level. Because when I go to the deep level and me realizing I hurt someone, and then it makes me feel sad, it makes me feel shame, it brings tears to my eyes, then that's the breakthrough. That's the point where I know I have to stop acting out on this defect, that I can no longer do this. This is not right. This is not ethical. Look at the damage that I'm causing. Self-awareness, self-awareness, self-awareness. I'm not going to be able to see my character defects. That's why I have to do it with another person, searching and fearless moral inventory of myself. And then when I get to the 5th step, I have to, I can admit it to God all day. I can admit it to myself all day. But the humiliation comes when I have to admit that stuff to another person. And I got to sit there and wait for their response. And here comes the fear. I just left myself open. I'm just vulnerable. I'm raw. Because then they could say anything. They could either be sympathetic, they could be confident, they could identify, or they can rip me to shreds. We take risks when we do these 4th and 5th steps. But we took a risk when we put that drink down. We also took a risk when we drank every day. And other things. So I don't mind taking this risk. I don't mind shedding tears. I don't mind seeing myself, the mirror, seeing myself. That really mean, inconsiderate, evil person, selfish person, inconsiderate, lazy, so much sloth, self-pity. The 7 deadly sins. I have to take that mirror and I have to put it up to me so I can see all of that. And I remember I had one lady I did the 4th step with, and I had so many liabilities. I had very little assets. And she looked at me and she told me, she said, but who told you don't have value? Who told you that? Who told you that you don't have a whole bunch of assets? She said, who's telling you this? And I found out in AA, this is what I found out. I found out that hurt people hurt people. I also found out that if I grew up in an environment where people were very mean to me, the tone was mean, well then I'm going to take that on. That's going to be part of my personality. And I'm going to, in fact, do that to my kids, and my kids will do it to their kids. I will pass my pain or my defects on to them. So I have to understand where I need to stop it. I have to understand where I need to understand it's no use to me. It is of no value. It brings no value, my defects, to a situation. You know, my fear, sometimes my fear, and the lack of wanting to take risks. That's a character defect, being fearful, because God didn't give us a spirit of fear. I need to trust. You know, I need to trust. You know, anxiety. Anxiety is just a feeling passing through. You know, and anxiety comes with a lot of baggage. My anxiety will tell me to do this and do that and think this, and nothing all that is going on. But anxiety will have me thinking that. Anxiety will have me thinking somebody doesn't like me. They're talking about me. You know, I got passed up for a promotion because of this, that. You know, it'll have me thinking all types of crazy things. You know, and that's what I love about these steps. It brings me back down to earth, to reality. It makes me take a look at myself. And, you know, and in all my character defects, I must forgive myself. I can't beat myself up for having them. I have to forgive myself. And I have to ask God to forgive me, and please let me learn how to do things differently. This is what the 5th step is about too. Teaches us how to do things differently. You know, so I don't have to go ahead and act out on those character defects. I can be patient. I cannot give my opinion. I can give a compliment. I cannot respond if someone insults me. There's so many different ways, so much better coping mechanisms that I'll get if I go ahead and I read these steps. I understand what it's about. I learn what it's about, and then I practice them and I live them. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for being here tonight. Mr. Pickles.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and so glad that you are here with us tonight. We have some first-timers, some new to the meeting, and some friends from other places that have joined us. And we are really, really very grateful to have you. And I hope that you will find in our group something that maybe you have been lacking in other groups. That being said, besides that, I'm blessed to be with my people, and my heart is full. So in tonight's reading, in the blue page, it talked about 24 pages. So that was the combination of the last 7 pages of how it works and the 16 pages in this chapter. Here's the magnificent thing about this chapter, Into Action. In 16 short pages, just 16 pages, it takes us through 7 steps. How many folks have been to Alcoholics Anonymous and say, "Oh, it's so hard"? How many people have had a sponsor tell them, "Oh, I'm going to keep you on, we're going to work 1 step a year"? Please show me where it says that in the book. Please show me. Because when I look at the historical evidence of this book, what I find is that our founders in the first 100 took these steps in short order, quickly but thoroughly, and that's how they were able to leave us this legacy to follow. What an amazing thing! So, as we know, as we closed out last week with how it works, steps 3 is the invitation to God to come into my life to do something I can't do. Step 4 is the discovery process of why I am the way that I am. Now, step 5, I learned a whole lot more about that discovery process as well. And it made a lot of suggestions tonight. Now, and we haven't even taken the 5th step. We're just talking about who to take it with. And yes, there are those who are bound by ethical boundaries. And yes, we know sometimes in Alcoholics Anonymous, tragically, there is sponsorship that you tell your secrets to, and the next thing you know, you're getting phone call from 47 other people of what you told your sponsor. That's just bad sponsorship. That's not Alcoholics Anonymous. Let me repeat that. That is bad sponsorship, not Alcoholics Anonymous. So, the thing is, here's what I heard when I got to the rooms. There's a gentleman sitting in this room tonight. It was in a meeting almost 34 years ago, sharing from the podium and talking about sponsorship. And he said something that really caught my attention, and I'm just really only a few weeks sober. Actually, I probably heard this on the 2nd or 3rd time I ever listened to him. Hadn't even introduced myself to him yet because he terrified me. He didn't terrify me because he was mean and ugly and looked like an ogre living under the bridge. He terrified me because he was so soft and eloquent and experienced in carrying the message. So, that being said, here's what he said from the podium. He said, if you're looking for a sponsor, then the best way to find a sponsor is to listen through the rooms to somebody who's got what you want, and then go ask them how to get it. Not everybody in Alcoholics Anonymous has what I want. There's a lot of times I don't want what I have, which is mostly a short temper, sometimes angry, definitely controlling and manipulating at times. And I don't want any of that stuff. I don't like that stuff. And I discovered it in step 4. But this gentleman has walked me through almost the last 34 years of my life. Now, tonight it talked about psychologists and so on and so forth. Here's a thought, just a thought to consider. If you've been going to a therapist for 20 or 30 years and you keep recycling the same problem over and over and over again, and you haven't gotten any healing from that problem, is therapy really doing any good? Now, that's not a criticism to therapy. It's an awareness to therapy. It's an awareness to outside help. Because there's something that, even though people may be educated in alcoholism, doesn't mean that they understand alcoholism and the nature of our disease. But another alcoholic absolutely does. My sponsor has never ever told me I had to do anything. He's made some suggestions. But most importantly, you know what he's done, family? He led me through his own example and places in the book that allowed me to find the God of my own understanding, so that I could become God dependent rather than group dependent, rather than sponsorship dependent. Now, I can tell you that there have been times in my life, and his life too, like when I moved 1,700 miles away and I was real poor and didn't have a telephone. There were months, even a couple of years, that we weren't able to stay in contact with. And I used somebody else. But the thing about it is, we have always been connected from the beginning. And I hope it will be that way till we draw our last breath as well. Because here's what my sponsor suggested to me. He suggested, the best thing that I can do for you as a sponsor is to work myself out of a job and become a trusted, loyal friend that you can talk to. And he has become all of that and so much more. Now, we didn't get to it tonight, but I'm just going to touch on it real quick. Next week, in next week's reading, it talks about the idea of confidentiality by having someone who stays closed mouth. I can tell you that my sponsor has never told anybody my personal story. Maybe in working with somebody else he has used parts of it, but not so that anyone would ever identify me. And I in turn have done the same thing. It's not to tell your story, but if I say, you know, I have a friend who had this difficulty, and here's how they went through it, and here's how they found success with it. I'll close with this. When I did that 5th step, and here's how it transpired. My sponsor said to me one night while we're shooting pool and I'm whining about her and the rest of life, was simply this: Jamie, you're not getting well any faster by procrastinating on your 4th step. I went home, started it on that night, and finished it the following night, and 2 days later was in his garage doing my 4th and 5th. And I just simply asked God to show me. Now here's a really cool thing. On my way to his house, I said the serenity prayer, and I got this chill up the back of my neck, and I choose to believe that as a spiritual experience. And when I told my sponsor that, he said, oh, you said it and finally meant it, which was very cool. But I want to share this one last thing with you. This sponsor, this wonderful, wonderful, godly man, did this for me when I shared my first resentment. He said, are you willing to forgive that person? And my answer was, absolutely not. Don't you see what they did to me? And he didn't lecture me or anything. He let me think on it. And here's what I walked away with that night. I walked away with forgiveness for everybody except that first resentment. But I walked away with the idea that someday I can have the spirit of forgiveness in my heart towards that individual. And what that did for me is it allowed that spirit of forgiveness in my heart to continually grow. I didn't find out location of a grave site until 28 years later. And at 28 years later, I was able to go to that grave in the spirit of forgiveness, love, kindness, understanding, and compassion, with a letter in my hand. Kiss that grave, read the letter at the grave, shove my medallion down in the headstone, and walk away a free man, because so long ago, my sponsor planted the idea of the seed of forgiveness in my heart. Thank you. I love you all.
Thank you, Jamie. William, come on in.
My name is William Lppbbsg. I'm happy to be here tonight. When we read the big book and stuff like that, it gives me a chance to reflect. How did I break down the wall of steel that I had built up in my life? And after that, I identify with the reading on, and as I begin to move through the program and begin to practice the principles of this program, I realized that my higher power provided the people and everything for me to be here tonight. And I like to read, you know, and talking about sharing those sharing with God and another human being. And my sponsor told me something like this, you know, to help me. And my sponsor was somebody that used to regurgitate all over the meeting, and whenever my sponsor shared, I would cringe and say stuff that I dared to tell anybody about me and stuff. But anyhow, my sponsor told me something like this: if you have done anything that nobody else never did, you tell me, and we're gonna call Wesley up and put it in the dictionary, so the next human being come out won't feel so unique. And begin to tear down that wall with me by making meetings and stuff. So that pride, that fear, that anger, dominated my life. And I like the part in here where he's talking about we had a character. We present this individual, and then we're uncomfortable with that person that we presented to the outer world. And definitely I lived a long way like that. I presented that, I through this process and listen to other people share the part where it's talking about that. I'm a Vietnam veteran. Always had job with good insurance and stuff like that. I could get the good counsel therapy, And I remember going to therapies, and talk to them, but I was never able to open up to them like I was to another alcoholic. And I don't think I was honest. I know was honest about what was going on with me till I reflected on somebody else. When you shared, I began to identify with that. Then I began to see the truth about myself, and that's how it worked, But as I began to continue to do that, I began to open up. And one of the things that really held me back, and I realized that I was blind by alcoholism, with that word thorough, when it said thorough, and today I know that word thorough was as thorough as I could do it at that time. Okay, as thorough as I could do it at that time, because I was laying down a foundation, a new way of living, that go give me a purpose life, and one of the biggest thing I got out of trusting and learning a new relationship with a higher power, and like whenever I used to be out there, I used to tell God what I want God to do for me. I'm going to God, you do this for me, and I'll be okay. And thank God, God didn't listen to me. He led me to a place where I could get the help that I really needed, And he led me to Alcoholics Anonymous, where you're always telling the truth about yourself. And that's how I learned how to tell the truth about myself. So definitely today, my life is, I'm at peace, no matter what happens. I may fall off the wagon for a minute, but I know where to get back up and where to get back on it at, and because of the foundation that I was given you, and definitely it's that unconditional love of God, and I don't ask God for anything no more, because I've been provided all my needs, and some of my wants been taken care of. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up with gratitude in my attitude, and I just say thank you, God. And I start sending out inspiration stuff to other people. And lately, whenever I send inspiration stuff out to other people, I've been getting some double from different people sending me some inspiration stuff that scripture out of the Bible, double like that. So I'm saying, what is going on here? What is going on here? So I said, one of my classmates been big in church all the time and stuff. So and she reads the Bible all the time. She's not an alcoholic, she don't confess to it. I guess she never drank, but she go to church a lot and she reads the Bible and stuff. So she sent me scripture, and other people sent me scripture. And then the same scripture that she be sending me, and I usually circulate this one that she sent me, because that's what keeps me like part of my meditation when I wake up in the morning. And I said to her, I told her this morning when I got another one this morning, I said, what is God trying to say? She said, I don't know. She said, I'm just a sinner, just like you. I said, well, God used sinners too. And she said, you're right. You're right and stuff, you know. But that's how I've been, you know, and far from the person that I was when I walked in the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. And my recovery was slow. It wasn't that bad because I had did a lot. You know, I was one of those naive alcoholics, you know what I mean, that held my hand out. And one thing I learned about this process, that God had given me a body that rejected a whole lot of stuff that I tried to put in. Okay? So I think that's some of the thing that saved me, you know, but I would try, you know what I mean, and once my body rejected, I left it alone. But it did a lot of damage by putting those alcohol and stuff in my body the way it did, and I realized that and I accept that today because of the program. But definitely, you know, more is being revealed about stuff that happened, you know, because I was overseas in the Far East, and I did a lot of traveling through the military, and a lot of things happened that I had forgotten about. You know, and they come up every now and then, you know, and I share it with people, you know, in my network, you know, stuff that I was blind. And I thank God for that. He didn't give me no more than I could handle at any given time, because I was suicidal with it. Okay? And if I had got all that stuff and felt so hopeless, you know, and who knows whether I would be here today. So I'm grateful for the program, for me hearing other people share, because, you know, I would have never known that was my problem, you know. And a lot of people try to tell me that, even in my job, you know, before even know what the word was, they used to tell me, they used to call me Sammy, why when you talk to us like condescending, you know, and these are my peers, condescending. I didn't think it was me, but when one person says something to you, you don't have to believe it. That's what they told us down south. If two people tell you something, you better think about it. And if the third person tells you something, it's a good chance that it is you. So thank you so much for allowing me to share. And I just want to say I'm supposed to be in Bermuda tonight, and I went to get aboard, and listen to other people. No, I ain't no blame. Nobody to blame. I went to the customer, went to go through customer, had all kind of ID, military ID, driver license, all kind of things in my name, and they asked me for a passport, you know, and I didn't have my passport. And they had 2 hours before they move out. They told me, if you could go to your house and get your passport, within 2 hours we'll wait here for you. You know, I tell you, between Jersey and New York is about 3 miles, but traffic is about, it'd be so much of traffic. They had a parade going over here Sunday too. It'd be so much of traffic there that it'll take you 3 hours to get there. So I didn't make the boat, but I'll be hoping tomorrow I'll be on a plane catching the boat in Bermuda. Thank you.
Thank you, William.
Safe travels, brother.
Hi, Art.
Good evening, friends. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic.
Who do you want to say?
And I'm going to make it brief tonight because I wanted to share a little bit. One of the things I want to share about is the passage that Alyssa read at the end of her share. That we must be completely honest with somebody if we want to live long and happily in this life. And I think that's one of my go-to passages when things are not the way I think they should be. And it has brought me a lot of courage and satisfaction to know that I'm not alone in this world, in this life. And then I wanted to share a little bit about this particular chapter and an experience from early in my sobriety. at a topic meeting, someone used the topic into action. And everybody was talking about things like washing ashtrays and coffee cups and making coffee and sweeping the floors and wiping down tables and becoming involved in the group and accepting responsibilities for the group and all that kind of stuff. And so I went home that night and I read that chapter that's titled Into Action, one we started tonight. And it occurred to me as I was reading the chapter that it doesn't say anything about wiping down tables and sweeping floors and washing ashtrays and coffee cups. It's talking about the action that I need to take in my own life in order to find recovery. And that's the important action. What I need to do in order to find recovery is to follow the instructions of how these steps work in my life. And what we read tonight is concerning myself with step 5. Which is a very important part of the puzzle there in determining how sobriety comes about. As we move through this chapter, it talks about a lot of other things that we need to do and where we find that attitudes change. In the part that we read tonight, it talked about humility and the humility necessary to find recovery comes in part from doing this very sometimes difficult and sometimes I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but anyway, this step 5, in admitting to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. It's in sharing our life history and our inventory with another person that we find the degree of humility necessary to find recovery. And humiliation and humility are not the same thing. I can be humiliated and not find any humility whatsoever. I can also find humility without experiencing humiliation. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes humility is acquired through humiliation, but it doesn't have to be. And so the experience that I recounted, this into action in large part is the action that I take to clean myself. The house cleaning that we talk about in Alcoholics Anonymous is what I do to clean up my own life. And for me, that took a very long time. Not something I did and it was done. It's something that I had to continue to do and to learn from experience, from making decisions based on poor judgment. And that's happened to me a lot in this process of recovery. But the one thing that has always been constant is the fact of, my recovery started when I was able to take the first step. Now we're talking about step 5 in what we read tonight, but none of that's possible until I do the first one. And so it is that I have a hard time talking about one specific particular step without talking to those that lead up to it and those that follow. And, this is no exception. So anyway, I said I was going to be brief, and so I'll yield to the next person who wants to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. And we are going to finish out with our hands before we close out. So Lisa, come on in.
Hey everyone, I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. And yes, I love this reading. It showed me why I couldn't get sober for so long. I was the one wearing the mask. I was the one not willing to let people in and talk about these things. For many, many years. And I didn't know what I didn't know, and I couldn't see what I couldn't see. And, I learned how important it is now picking up the phone and letting somebody in because I can't see it. It's been a tough week for my family, and I can't believe how well I'm doing. Getting that new attitude, working on and making my relationship with my God stronger. He loves me. I see that this week. The things he's put in my path, it's amazing to me. In the beginning of the week, I was having a tough time dealing with this, but I saw, when I picked up the phone, which was a lot in the beginning of the week, and the wonderful people in my life helped me to see that, chipping away at things, and and by the way, this time I know I found the right people to help me. I feel it, I see it. I'm so grateful. There was a couple things that I, just in conversation this week, that I talked, before I knew it, I had let it out. And I didn't burst into flames or anything. And it's out. And I thought I was taking that stuff to the grave. And it's out. And I got so much further along in my writing. The uncovering stuff and why I did things the way I did, and a lot of it is survival stuff that I learned after things. And thinking of it that way, I don't beat myself up either. And it's huge, bringing God in. Help, please let me see the truth. And, you know, and he is. And he's been gentle, you know. You know, Ad was talking about humility. I have this on my refrigerator. I got it a couple years ago. Someone printed it out for me, and I'm just gonna read this, and I'll end. Humility, perpetual quietness of heart. It is to have no trouble. It is never to be fretted or vexed, irritable or sore, to wonder at nothing that is done to me, to feel nothing done against me. It is to be at rest when nobody praises me, and when I am blamed or despised. It is to have a blessed home in myself, where I can go and shut the door and pray to my Father in secret and be at peace, as in a deep sea of calmness, when all around and about is seeming trouble. Isn't that awesome? And that's how I'm starting to feel. And I just want to thank everybody. You've all helped me so much. And yeah, and I'm just gonna keep coming. And I love you guys. That's it.
Thanks, Lisa. Kat, you wanted to jump in before we close out?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kat, and I'm an alcoholic. And I was sitting back here getting all kinds of emotional, you know. And Linda, you absolutely brought me to tears. Because it is hard. It's hard, you know. It's hard truths to swallow, you know. And I'm emotional to begin with, so. But you know, it's just incredible how this book, this man, is talking about me in 2024, back in the 1930s, because this is all me right here. Decades. I went decades, in and out, but I never did the house cleaning. I never did fourth and fifth. I had those sponsors in New Jersey that were like just spoon feeding it and just, you know, I don't know. It didn't work for me. I didn't get it, and I wasn't open to it. I was blocked completely, and I didn't even know it. And my life has changed like 100% since I cried out to God and asked Him for help, and actually meant it. Like a drowning, desperate, I don't know what, mess, pickled from the start, pickled from the first drink, pickled from the womb, actually. My mother drank when I was in the womb. I'm lucky I have a brain, and I'm grateful that I'm here today, because God has protected me all along, and I just didn't know it. I thought I was going to hell, or was going to spend eternity, you know, in purgatory. So I just wanted to share that. You know, it's been difficult, but anything that's worthwhile doesn't come easy. At least nothing comes easy for me. I always learn the hard way, but I'm learning, and that's a blessing. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kat. So, Terry, we're playing musical chairs at the co-seat today, the co-host seat. So could you please read our closing?
I would be honored. From page 164 in the big book. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you could do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is a great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Terry. And we will go ahead and close out in our normal fashion. And for those of you who are new to us, since we cannot hold hands around the table because not only are we not in the same room together, we're not even all in the same time zone. But we put our hands up in the screen, and that's our way of holding hands with each other on Zoom and connecting with each other as we pray out. And we'll take a moment of silence first for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may die tonight, either because they haven't found their way to us or because they found us and decided they weren't ready or they didn't want what we had and walked away. So a moment of silence followed by the Lord's Prayer. Thank you. Who brings us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father,
Our Father,
who
Who
art
art
in
in
heaven,
heaven,
hallowed
hallowed
be
be
thy
thy
name.
name.
Thy
Kingdom
kingdom
come,
come,
Thy
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 will be
will
done
be done
on
on
earth as it is
is
in
in
heaven.
heaven.
Give
Give
us
us
this
this
day
day
our
our
daily
daily
bread,
bread,
and
and
forgive
forgive
us
us
our
our
trespasses,
trespasses,
as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, everybody. It was a wonderful meeting. I know we did run over a little bit, but I'm not